Good afternoon. Today's date is November 28th, 2018. My name is Judith Jenkins, and I'm a volunteer with the Hanford branch of the Kings County Library Veterans History Project. Would you please state your full name?
Erica Jean Claus Numsali.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we just ask you some questions, Ms. Erica, just to get the Veterans History Project going. And once again, we're very glad that you could join us today. And the weather outside isn't all that. But anyhow, let's start with question number one. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Santa Clarita County. My dad was in the Navy, and we just traveled around just only in California area. We were there for less than 2 years before we went to San Diego. And I was able to graduate from Hanford, California. I was able to get there from kindergarten to graduation.
Oh, very good.
I was able to stay in one location most of my life.
Very good. So are your parents still with us now?
My father passed away in 2004. My mom, she still lives in Hanford.
Okay. And what did they do for a living? I mean, you said your father was in the military. What did your mother do?
My mom, she was a homemaker. She stayed at home.
Okay. Have you any siblings?
Yes, I have a twin sister. She's 7 minutes older, and she lets me know about that every time. She's like, I'm older. I said, by 7 minutes, that is it. And I'm a middle child. And then I also have a younger sister named Jennifer. She's 3 years younger, and she went into the Navy also. Okay. My dad was in the Navy also, did 24 years, and Jen did 20 years.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what did you do before you went into the military?
I graduated from Hanford in 1991, and then I lived in San Diego for about a year. And I told myself I'd give 2 years of civilian life before I would decide to go into the military, and it ended up being a year early because it was so expensive in San Diego. I just needed to get out of there. The crime rate was so high, and I didn't feel safe in San Diego, in the area. And so I was part of a delayed enlistment. They told me I was not going to go until March 1993, but then I said, send me now, and they sent me July 92. So it was less than 2 weeks before I was able to give for my current employer at the time, which was McDonald's, and less than 2 week notice, I was out to go to Texas.
Okay, and you, what branch did you serve in again? The Air Force? Okay, and the rest of your family served in the Navy?
Navy, yes.
All right, that's good.
Well, but my sister, she married an Army veteran.
Okay.
So,
so you enlisted then?
Yes, I enlisted.
1993?
I enlisted in 92,
okay.
July 30th.
Okay. And you said, I was going to ask you, what inspired your choice of the Air Force versus the Navy, since the rest of your family was Navy?
I wanted to go into the Navy at first, and my dad and mom said, no, go into the Air Force, it's the easiest branch. And my sister, when she wanted to go in the Navy, they said yes. And I said, okay, why did you say no to her but yes to me? And she says, well, there's 3 things. 1, she's not curious like you. 2, she doesn't talk back because they might think that you're talking back when you're just curious. And 3, she can handle the training. I was like, oh, dang. 2 of the 3 is true, but.
Wow, got that down.
Yep.
How was the boot camp experience?
Actually,
Good or bad?
it was good. Sure, the drill instructors, the training instructors, they were yelling at us, but not in the face like we see on TV and everything else, like right here to the face. They don't do that. They yell at us, but just if we do something silly, if they do something silly, or if we did it, then it would be just briefly like here, but not like constantly berating. It was not like that. And it was really hot because it was July in Texas, so it was very hot. There is a thing called the red flag or a black flag, which is a heat index. Yeah. So if it's the red flag or the black flag would be up, then that means we're not outdoors or very limited time. Black flag is no time at all outside. Red is just increments like 10 minutes at a time and then go back into the shade. Mm-hmm. But every time we were on our way to walk to the flag, the main base flag, it was always red flag or black flag. So we never really marched to there. Mm-hmm. Yep. And basic training was 6 weeks at the time. And we did a lot of physical training. early in the morning. Reveille would go, and we just go all the way down, and we just do physical training, and then we would eat at the time we call it chow hall, and and we didn't have time to eat. We were scarfing down our food, and we had to make sure we were forced to drink 2 glasses of water so that way we don't pass out or anything. And I was just trying to scarf down the food as fast as I could.
Right.
And there's no time to socialize or nothing, and then we just go out there, and then that was it. And then they left us alone after we ate. We weren't forced to do anything else until afterwards, until our body was ready to go. So they would have had people passing out if they were to go right after we eat.
Right. Okay. Did you have any favorite DIs or instructors?
The 3 drill TI, the training instructors that we had was Sergeant Cozart, Sergeant Pierce, and Sergeant Walker. They were really nice. I just liked them. They were really nice, and they were fair. They were fair. They weren't picking on us and just berating us or anything like that. They knew that they were just helping us out because they were yelling at us for a reason. Because if we got yelled at by somebody else, we didn't take that to heart, because there was another training instructor that was yelling at us, and I thought nothing of it, because I said I only respond to the 3 that I was assigned to, and that is it, nobody else. So, and they told me that if I felt like that I was being picked on, or anybody else, that somebody was trying to tell me what to do versus what they were telling me to do, to report them. So, which was good. It's like you only listen to us and nobody else, and that's it.
Yeah, okay. Well, that kind of answers the next question, because I was going to ask you, what about military life? You just into it. What did you do on leave? Like, when you had time to yourself, maybe a weekend, or you got a leave check. Where did you go? What did you do with it?
Oh, let's see. When I was at Vandenberg, I would go to Santa Barbara. It was an hour. Vandenberg Air Force Base was my first base. Okay. Because my job was DECA, which was commissary, I never really went to technical school, like everybody else did. And I didn't experience technical school at all.
So you had OJT then?
Yes, I had OJT. So my mom, she goes, "You didn't join the Air Force to work at a grocery store, did you?" And I said, "No, I saw the choices. I saw a chance to be a manager, so I took that. And I was good with numbers, and I didn't want to be in front of a computer. Right. I found it kind of boring, but I loved numbers. And so working at the commissary, I memorized the numbers for produce.
Great.
And I was a cashier too.
That's wonderful. Yep. Okay. But you didn't say, okay.
Yeah, so the time that I had was, when I was on leave, Vandenberg was my first base.
Okay.
And I would go to Santa Barbara, which was an hour away.
Okay.
And I would go to hang out. I wasn't old enough to drink, so I was 19 when I came in.
Okay.
And so about 2 years later, I was 21, old enough, but at the time, I would just wait until I was allowed to go to the bars. But there were some other things to do in Santa Barbara, and there's Santa Maria, San Luis Obispo. I would just go out there, go to the beach, and go to the waters and everything, because I like the water.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. So you didn't have specialized training. Did that give you an edge, though, an advancement? Because where you were, what you're stationed with, the DECA, that they were training you to be a manager while you were, okay.
Well, I didn't actually get the managerial training for that, though. I worked in 5 different areas in the department for the commissary.
Okay.
But they transferred me to services in October '94, and I never really experienced manager up level.
Okay.
So, but
okay. But you still like what you did?
Yes, I loved it. I was a people person. I was cashier a lot. When there was a long line, I was the first one on there and helping the civilians at the time. And because the military, we were also cashiers when they were short-staffed, and we just filled in as cashiers. And I was usually the last one to check out.
Oh, wow. Good.
Yes, except for when I developed a gastric ulcer. So because of that, I was giving up my breaks. I was snacking in between meals, but I have a gastric ulcer as a result of it, because I've been on medication for 25 years because of it. So I was diagnosed with a gastric ulcer at 20. So I've been on medication for Prilosec, everything else for over 20 years. And they said it was supposed to be just a temporary medication, but I've been on it for too long. Yep.
Oh, my.
Yep.
Well, let me ask you this, and go around. Any wartime, did you deploy or before or after the start of any combat operations?
I did Guantanamo Bay, Gitmo for Operation Sea Signal. That was my very first one, and that was in October '95.
Okay.
And I was there for a little before Halloween. I remember that. And we were supposed to be there for the holidays.
Okay.
But we ended up being there only just for a month and a half instead of the full 3 months, because there was Herbert Field and Dyess, Texas that were there, and they didn't want 3 different bases operating one dining facility. They were reducing the Joint Task Force.
Okay.
So, because we had Camp Phillips and Camp Buckley. Camp Phillips was where it was walking distance from the beach, or from the waters, and then Camp Buckley, it looked like a prison. I mean, literally, you had barbed wires everywhere. The women's showers and bathroom stalls were right in the middle of the campsite, and it was dirty, and I was like, eesh, we're only there for just about 3 days. Well, it was 3 days, because we had to tear down Phillips.
Right.
And so we had to tear down everything. It was crazy, and it was the first time I actually had to tear down a base, not operated up, but just tearing it down was a lot more work. And we were there, just ended up being there just only a month and a half, so we were able to go home before Christmas.
Okay. Well, you said that you were early diagnosed with a physical condition, which you now still take medication for. Did you have any other stress-related experiences that affected you, like as of today?
I did have also sleep apnea, so I have that also, and I have a 50% disability for that one. And I also have 10% for tendonitis in my left elbow, because I developed that when I was in Qatar first time, and it was repetitive motions. I was moving mattresses. We were moving lots and lots of mattresses from one place to another, and it was just the repetitive motion that made it worse.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
Well, tell me about your military friendships. Did you pick up anybody's, did you meet special people that you're still friends with today? Yes,
I remember specifically, mostly from this last base location, and also the couple from Travis Air Force Base. And I remember specifically, it was Chief Master Sergeant Smallsbrain, is Vanessa Smallsbrain. She was our chief squadron, and our squadron chief, and she was a mentor to me. I mean, she was like the best one that I can remember. And I remember she also does briefings and speeches for everybody else too. She is also a parishioner. And then in church. Okay. And so she does church, and then she says, I can also officiate weddings. So I was like, oh wow. And I just saw her recently for a friend of ours' wedding, and I was like, oh my gosh, chief, like this. And I was like, I know you're not chief anymore, but I remember you the most. And she was like, Vanessa, like this. And I was like, I know, but it's just so hard. And she goes, okay, Vanessa, like this. And so she was like the epitome for all the mentor for me.
Oh, okay.
And I remember her specifically. And she was also battling cancer. And she was a strong person. And she fought cancer. She beat it. And it went into remission. And it made her stronger than ever. And I just look up to her for everything. And also... Yep, and then there was also, when I was stationed at Travis, there was colonels, and I liked how we were held up. We were defended for, because our squadron was services. We provided morale support for people, but who provided our morale if we were taking care of other people? Exactly. And when our colonel, when she was wanting to take care of us, she stood up to the mission support squadron and says, no, I'm not going to let you abuse my people anymore, because you got to help us out if we're going to be helping you. And,
wonderful.
But unfortunately, she got relieved of duty because she was not playing nice, apparently, to them. She didn't play with the big wigs, and so she ended up being discharged. Not discharged, but just relocated to a different base. And that was not fair, but she defended us, and I like that. And then also, I remember when I was stationed at Travis Air Force Base. I was there for 7 years, and it was on 5 deployments. And I remember 5 deployments in 7 years, and they figured, it's like, why are you doing here so long? It's like, trust me, I've been wanting to go to Korea forever. And I would volunteer to go, and I never got picked up for it. And I was just on deployment, so that's why they left me alone, because they said usually lifers would go to Korea at least for a year, and I never had that happen. So I was like, okay. And I remember 2006, there was a program the Air Force was starting, and that was the Sexual Assault Response Coordinator Program. And I ended up becoming a victim advocate for that. So I received the training, and I earned the training for that. And then the Air Force officially accepted the program in 2007. So I was part of the start of it.
That's good.
And I don't see them as victims, I see them as survivors. So I wanted to be called a survivor advocate, not victim advocate, survivor advocate.
Yes.
So I was a survivor advocate from 2006, roughly, and then all the way up until my retirement, until 2013.
Okay.
So roughly almost 7 years.
So were you awarded medals and citations then because of this, program, especially since you were in the forerunner of this program? Did they give you special citation for that? You stayed in?
Just only I had a VA number. Anytime that they would see the number, a special number, they would see it when on deployments. That's a special duty assignment that they see me at, and so every deployment and every base that I went to after that, I was assigned to the SAPR program. It's the Sexual Assault Prevention Response. They changed that from SARC to SAPR, and during deployments I was on standby. I was part of the group that we had for the program itself. I was in Qatar 3 times. 2004 was the first time. So 2006 was when it was the official first time for deployments for me to be a survivor advocate for overseas.
Okay.
So I've been on so many deployments after that.
You have a very extensive career.
Yes. I know, I had to use the DD-214 because I couldn't remember all of the campaigns that I was a part of. And the medals, there's a lot of them. Accommodation medals. The accommodation medals, I have received 2 of them, and then achievement medals were 4 Oakley clusters.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and the accommodation medal, I received 1 Oakley cluster, so which means it's 2 of them. And that was hard to get, but I got it. I earned it. Darn it.
Yes. What was the reception? How did your family or your friends who weren't in the military, how did they receive you once you came out of military life and changed over to the civilian life?
They accepted it. I mean, it's just even when I was active duty, it's like nothing has changed. I feel bad for the Vietnam veterans. They did not receive very good fanfare when they were coming home. I didn't have to deal with any of that when I came back from deployments or anything like that. In fact, they wanted to just shake my hand and everything else too. And there are times that there were small businesses or anything like that, they would give military discounts. And I would sometimes ask for a military discount, but they were like a small mom and pop place. I don't offer that or ask for that. And I remember listening to a couple of World War II, Vietnam, Korean. They said I would never use that too, because just because I served in the service, that doesn't mean I'm owed. And I was like, this isn't like owing. I don't feel that I'm owing, but they wanted to give back to us, and so I'm helping them, the small business community. So I would sometimes just ask for it, but then I kind of feel like obligated, but then I don't want to feel like you owe me or anything like that.
Exactly.
I don't feel that at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. That's what I feel. And what was your occupation then after you got out of the service?
After I got out of the service, I was a cook. After that, so which way?
Okay, so
services we did. Yeah, service is my career field. We did 5 different jobs. We did food, which is dining facility, fitness center, lodging, which is a hotel, and then or billeting, and then recreation. It was merged out to contracting, but we still did that part of it though for outdoor recreation. We did that part, and then so it's like food, fitness, lodging, recreation, readiness. Readiness is when we had to make sure our military was prepared for deployments, for training, for field training, and then we did mortuary too. I never processed any fallen warriors, but we had to be told through training in case of something were to happen when we were deployed. So during deployments, we would have a lot of fallen warriors coming through, and especially Qatar. Qatar, we had a lot because that's where we would refuel the planes. coming over, and my last deployment, I was part of the Fallen Warrior program.
Okay.
And so when the Fallen Warriors would come off the plane, we would give them full honors for that window too, and then we replaced the ice bags around them, and then we would wait for them to refuel and then put them safely and then honor them again. For we would have a detail coming in there
So
with it.
two.
We would have them two.
Wow.
Twice.
I didn't
So when
know
they
that.
offload and then when they
Right.
upload. And we would have, and especially if there was, the Fallen Warrior was from their squadron, you would have a lot of people lined up for them giving their final honors as we were driving by. And then they would just give it to
Wow.
them. And I was the driver for the vehicle for them.
Wow.
Yeah, and there was, I remember the hardest one, I remember was when there was 8 or 9 people that died. Because two Chinooks, 2 helicopters clipped each other and they all went down. Yeah, so there was Navy and Army for that too, and I think a Marine or 2. But anyway, it was just all of them came. So we had a lot of vehicles, 1 vehicle for every person that passed away. And then there were 2 separate details, teams, and then so 1 and 3, they would take the odd ones. So every time they did 1 going up, then they would go to the 3rd one and then 5th one. And so that would rotate between the 2 teams.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the largest at one time. But it was an honor to be able to be a
Yes.
part of the team. And I remember seeing the body bag, because through all the trainings that we've had before, we've always had a mannequin. We've always had a mannequin throughout the training, but this time when I actually saw the body bag, I saw the silhouette and it was real. We didn't unzip, we never
Right,
unzipped.
right.
But it's just knowing that it was a real body in
Yes.
there, and that kind of affected me just a little bit. You know, I was like,
I
ooh.
can see why.
Yeah, so it was like, oh, it was the first one too, first one I've seen, and then so I was able to be the driver of him. You know, so it was, his name was believed to be Christopher Monahan. So he was from New Jersey, and we didn't release any information until the next of kin was identified.
Oh, sure,
So it
sure.
was confirmed that it was Christopher Monahan.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We used to send information, me and Keiko going out and doing the, okay.
Yep. So, because we don't know the information till
Right, okay.
Dover knows it though, but
Sure.
that we always put believed to be information, because
Right.
somebody can always change a dog tag.
Right, okay.
Yep.
Did you continue your education, and was it supported through the GI Bill?
Yes, when I was active duty, I attended school, and I was taking tuition assistance. I took full advantage of that, and it was 100% paid for, all the books and everything else too. I took full advantage of that, and that's why I was able to earn an associate's in hotel, restaurant, and fitness management, which they call it hospitality management now. And I earned that May. In May, and then also I earned a liberal arts degree, an associate's, and so now I'm working on a bachelor's in religion.
Okay, and the military is still being able to assist you?
Yes,
with
I did the post 9/11 GI Bill.
that? Okay.
Yep.
Have you stayed in contact with any other fellow veterans besides the one that you spoke of, the team?
Yes, I do. Sergeant Fry, Stephen Fry, he was my supervisor and the team lead for my last deployment. And I just saw him recently too, when I worked on base, and he just popped in and was like, how are you doing? And kept in contact. And then I also have some friends in Travis Air Force Base, California, and I just keep in contact with some of them too. And when I was in Saudi Arabia, there's deployments, I keep in contact with some of them too. Yep.
Do you attend, this is sort of like reflection period here, but what I want to ask you is, do you attend reunions, or are you involved with any military ceremonies then at this point?
I miss the services. I miss my squadron, and I attended some Airman Leadership School graduations. I attended some of those, and also just squadron functions that we have. My husband, he is part of the squadron itself still,
Okay.
but he's in the education part.
Okay.
And so he lets me know all the events that are going on, and we went to last year's Christmas party, so that was interesting. I remember I was wearing a dress and somebody wore the same dress. we took a picture of it, and it was funny.
Have it look better on you?
I guess, I don't know. I don't know.
What life lessons did you gather from your your entire military service that you've done?
I still believe in the core value. The Air Force motto is integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And I still live to the motto to that day. And I have the integrity to do the right from wrong. And also just, there are times that I am guilty of self-sacrifice. And there are times I have to step back and it's like, no, I can't. It's not worth my stress to do that. And I don't feel guilt. I don't feel as guilty for that.
That's wonderful. Future generations are going to see this interview. So what would you like them to know?
I would like them to know is just give all your best. Don't let people tell you anything different. There's a lesson learned with everything, and you might think that they're criticizing you or anything like that. It's not. It's just the delivery, and also respect people and have the integrity for everything that you do. Do the best, and also don't think too much like what's in it for me generation, because you'll be surprised. Because if you have your first duty location, don't let it judge for the rest of the career, because it just might be just a bad location. Because you just give it a chance. You know, you might find more things out there for you. And go to school. Go to school while it's still free.
GI Bill, right.
GI Bill,
Right.
yep. So, well, just go to school while you still can.
Okay, Ms. Erica, we want to thank you so much for taking the time for this interview.
Oh, you're
And above all, we want to thank you for your service to this country.
Oh, thank you so much.
That was very good.
Thank you.
That was very, you have the most information to give of all the people who I've interviewed. Yeah, it doesn't matter if that's gone. He's
Oh,
going to
okay.
edit it.
That's fine.
He's going to edit it. And I thank you for all the opportunities as a woman.
We still have 4 minutes to go.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
why I get 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Remember, 5 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay, well, that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank you for, as a woman, for taking all the opportunities that you can when you're in the military,
Yes.
because they have you totally 24/7.
Yes.
And so with all the different programs that can help men and women,
Right.
you being a woman seem to have had the foreknowledge to take every turn that you could to help enable you to further yourself.
Okay. Now, before I lose time, okay, I needed to tell you before this, is that I had an indecent assault on me right when I first came in the service. And I almost did not re-enlist because it was by a coworker, came into my room in the middle of the night, started kissing me from here to here, and I was 4 o'clock in the morning, so an hour and a half of sleep. I did not notice until I was starting to wake up, and I felt like how poorly it was done. I didn't tell anybody because I felt like I was at fault. But then I started lashing out at people, and they forced me to seek a counselor. And I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody. You can't force me. And I thought how poorly it was done. They weren't going to put any charges on him, just paperwork, and that's it. I almost didn't re-enlist. But then I said, no, I'm not going to let these jerks, is that a bad word, but to not determine my future, because I told myself I was going to be a lifer, and I told them that I was not going to let them determine my future. So I pushed through, and so when the sexual assault response coordinated program came in, I jumped on. That's the reason why I did it, though, because I ended up becoming like a mother hen to the girls, the ladies that were in the dorms. And I would just, okay, make sure that, it's okay. So I became a little bit more cognizant about when I went to the clubs. And so that's what, I became an advocate for that.
Good.
So
Good.
So when I heard that, it came in when I was stationed in Travis, I had that. So I was like, I was wondering, it's like, where was this program when I needed it at the most?
But
So,
you-
yeah.
But if I can say though, that's where women soldiers come in. If you have the opportunity to grab a hold of programs such as you have, even though that was a starting point, you were still able to help others.
Yes.
So, well, let's say once again, just thank you for all your service that you have and all the time that you put in, and we hope that your future will be forever blessed.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. It's okay.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Sure doesn't get mad at me.
No, it's
He's
fine.
actually really mean.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, well, it's also good to find out that you have except for that one situation that your total military experience is very positive because, people, young people coming up now have all different kinds of reactions to the military, based on media, social media, Facebook and whatever, and hearing from their friends. So it's very important that the program be given credit. I mean, program, I'm talking Marines, Navy, Air Force. They give credit because all of them have core values, and all of them are can help people. But I know when I went in, it helped me grow up.
Yeah.
And of course, I never had extensive training like you had, but I think it's always been, if you look at it objectively and you look at it as a positive learning experience, you can learn a lot by going through the programs if you qualify.
Yeah.
You can learn a lot, as you've proven. And so I'm glad that I got the opportunity also. I was a Navy reservist, but I had to stand up for Desert Shield, and I had to stand by for Desert Storm, and I worked over the Gen 2 Pentagon, but that's me. That's nothing big.
Yeah. But I came in like right when it ended.
Yeah. But with all your extensive traveling and stuff, see, young people need to hear stories like you have, because, and anybody needs to, because that's what I'm trying to say. It's a positive impact, whereas in a lot of times, you talk to the wrong people, you're going to get a negative impact.
Right.
So it's very important to hear people like you, and I say especially women, because women do have such a positive, strong impact. And when you're working with young people, that's our future.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
They need to know what to do, because their future's coming up.
Right.
We've already gone through the training. Right?
Yeah.
So you had to sweat it out, but you've set motions going for the future if they take it seriously.
Yeah, there were times that I had some people that did not belong in the service. And I was like, what do you want to do when you get out? And then there's some of them that show potential. Those are the ones I concentrate on, because I don't want my time wasted on somebody that's not going to appreciate with what I tell them.
Exactly.
And if they ask me for advice, or if I see leadership in them, then I help them out. And then I kind of feel bad that there are some people that Grand Forks was their first base and they're young, because there's not much to do. I'm lucky that I had that as my last base, because I'm phasing out, just relaxing and everything else too. But there's some of them that just get out after the first one, and I said, no, the Air Force is not like that for the rest of its sections. I said, you might be just in a bad location, and just, if you want to, just go to a different base, cross-train into a career field that you want to go, if it's possible, and then just give it another shot. But then there's some of them, it's like, no, I'm done. It's like, okay, I understand. Because there's sometimes that there's dual military, and one of them has to get out, because they sometimes high-five each other, practically, one going on deployment, like less than a week or two sometimes, and then they see each other's, they would be, so to be a parent, in the service, I commend them for that, and I felt really bad for some of them. And I remember there was one girl, she was a first-time mom, and she just had her baby, and she had to leave her son behind when he was about 5 months old, 6 months, and she came back. It was a 3-month deployment, 3, 6, something like that. And when she came back, he didn't remember her at all, even though he would hear her voice, showing the pictures or something like that. And it was carried by her mom and showed pictures and stuff. And then he's like, no. She said, it broke my heart when my son rejected me when I came back. And I was like, I understand. And I said, but try a little harder. The parents should try a little harder with the pictures. But now that we have FaceTime and everything else too, it's a lot easier to communicate. But there are times in deployed locations we did not have that opportunity, and sometimes we would get 5 minutes. Sometimes 5 minutes of morale calls, and they kept track of it. We couldn't call them every day, And some people would abuse the system. They would try to find ways, and I don't know. Just with all the technology that we have now, it's a lot easier to do FaceTime with people. So boost their morale a little bit more, because they noticed that some of the kids were separated from their parents when they were coming out. So I think that was it.
You got 30 minutes.
Yep.
Good, so we do have it. I want to thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I give you a hug?
Yeah, of course.
You're
Thank you so
wonderful.
much. Thank you.
You are wonderful.
Thank you so much.